Hi Esther, you have done fantastically. The pictures from the photo shoot are excellent, absolutely excellent. Very impressed. Okay, let's get to business. Okay, let's look at the homework first. Is just you've only done two. You only done two pictures. I don't know if there was a third one that didn't get here somehow, but let's just look at these because we can work it out from here anyway. So it looks pretty good to me. We can see the first picture. We've got a long, without even looking, in fact I've covered the stats so you can't see, but we've for sure got a longer shutter speed because we can see there's more movement on this picture of the fan than there is on this one. And in regards to depth of field, we can see that there is a shallower depth of field in this one than in this one. Do you see? Slightly, very slightly, but we can see that the chair is more blurry here than here, which is surprising because we've got a longer shutter speed. So let's have a look. Let's work this out. Okay. Let's look at our stats here. So we've got a 1/200, and then we've got f2.8. And then we've got ISO 800. Okay. Now, what do we change to? So let's bring it back. Now we've changed to a 1/400. We've changed to f4. And we've changed to 3200. So now let's have a look what we've done. So from 200 to 400 is minus one stop. Okay, we took away one stop of light from 200th of a second to 1/400th of a second. Now from 2.8 to f4, it goes 2.8, 3.2, 3.5, f4. That's also minus one stop. Okay, so now I hope this is adding two stops. Let's have a look. 800, to add a stop of light, ISO 800, we go to 1600. And then to add another step of light, we go to 3200, which means we were plus two stops. So we see together, this all ends up as the same. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, I hope you understand that. Because this really, although it's very boring, I mean, some people might find it interesting. Most people, I would imagine, would find this kind of boring. But this is really the key to photography, because as a professional portrait photographer, or any kind of photographer, we're asking questions. For example, what kind of depth of field do I want? What kind of shutter speed do I want? Let's just put it into the context of portrait photography. We're basically always needing a quicker shutter speed, because we don't need a very quick shutter speed, but we don't want camera shake, and we're not using a tripod. So we've always said like minimum around the 1/250th of a second. Best would be a 500th of a second. That'd be fantastic. We're looking for a very wide aperture, so we can have a shallow depth of field. But what if more people come into the picture and we're going to need a slightly longer depth of field? And we're looking to use a lower ISO, so it comes out. The rule to remember is aperture is widest. Okay, widest means that we never ever compromise the depth of field. We never ever compromise the sharpness of our subject for a blurry background, because we always want a very blurry background. A blurry background allows for our subject to pop out, and it becomes less distracting. So that's for sure what we want. So the widest, but that means widest as in, doesn't mean you just have your aperture whacked out as wide as it can go. It means the widest, making sure that your subject will always be in focus. So that could be, if you're dealing with one person, you could be using 1.8 or whatever your camera goes to, the widest. But as more people join, then you need to give yourself more leeway with your depth of field, so that widest, aperture being widest, will actually, you will raise the number, which means you will shut the aperture down a little bit, which will give you a slightly longer depth of field. So for example, for a group, the way I shoot, one person I shoot 1.8, two people I shoot 2.2, three people 2.5, 2.8, four people 2.8, 3.2, something like that. And I have like a sliding scale. The more people who join, the smaller I make my aperture, the longer I make my depth of field, to make sure that I always have my subject sharp in focus. So we've got aperture is widest, shutter speed is fastish, or quickish, and yeah, quickish is better. And ISO is lowish. Okay, don't kill yourself on getting a low ISO, but definitely the lower the better. The difference between 100 and 200 is basically imperceivable. 200 to 400 even on my camera, even between 100 and 800 is even kind of imperceivable. But then again, we'll say it one more time, okay? Aperture is widest, shutter speed is quickish, and ISO is lowish. Okay, if you can remember those 6 words, that will answer up all the questions of all the settings in regards to your exposure triangle, aperture, shutter speed, ISO, in all situations, not including flash. Okay, excellent. 10 out of 10. Except there was only 2 pictures, so I can't say 10 out of 10, but for the 2 that you did, it was 10 out of 10. Okay. Okay, let's look at these pictures. Oh, poor little boy's hurt himself. I feel familiar with these, with your chevra here. So, okay, shall we for a shlema? Anyway, you've still retained some colour. We know that background should be comparable exposure, different colour. It's not a comparable exposure, but it hasn't actually maxed out. It's still got colour here, slightly, which means it's okay. Compositionally, great. I love the posing. The 2 colours on the outside, it actually works out very nicely. You've got the 2 dark blues and then the beige in the middle. Posing is very relaxed, cute, and natural. The sun is streaming in on the heads. This is excellent photography. It really is. I'm really so impressed. You've done excellently. You should give yourself a big pat on the back. Okay. Now you've broken the rule of bringing your subject away from the background, but that's fine. We're allowed to break rules. The rule is that as long as you know the rules, you can break them. If you don't know the rules, then it's not breaking them. Like Picasso broke all the rules. Yeah, but if you look what he was doing when he was 13 years old, the kind of pictures he was painting when he was 13 years old, he understood all the rules very, very clearly. You can only break the rules when you know them, and it seems clear that you know them, so enjoy. Go ahead, break as many of them as you like. Okay, this is great. I love the symmetry here. He's got this kind of like... kind of like, I didn't do it, look, you know. Nice pose, relaxed, good direction moving in this way. You've created a nice triangle here. He's sharp, bouncing out of the background. He's very very delineated and isolated from the background. I'm just wondering if it would be better if we shaved off this area here. Let's just have a look. Yeah, maybe. I'm just wondering, one second. What about if we straighten it a teeny drop? Is it dead straight? So a picture like this, there you go, is dead straight here. A picture like this, very important that it should be dead straight or whacked out completely. Just it shouldn't be a slightly off. This is a great shot. Really a lovely picture. I love this. Okay. I'm sorry to be such a... I'm such a focus snob that I just, if the eyes aren't pin sharp, I just feel like this, it goes in my mind like wah, wah, wow. This is a beautiful picture. You've done everything right. You just missed the focus slightly. Okay, so if you really want to become excellent, which you really are on your way to do that, be very hard on yourself. When you miss the focus, you should just resolve that next time I'm not going to miss the focus, okay? Remember, how do we not miss the focus? Is by engineering the odds. Engineering the odds means we take enough pictures to make sure that we're going to get the focus. Now, don't forget that if you are in burst mode and you hold the camera down, click, 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 you are not engineering the odds, because the way burst mode works, if you're in one shot, is that your camera focuses on the first picture and then every other picture is the same. Doesn't change the focus, which means you just took 10 pictures but you didn't engineer your odds. So what you should be doing if you're in one shot, if you're an AI7, that's different, you haven't learned about that yet, but if you're in one shot, the way that I'm engineering my odds is I'm going to be, if you watch me here, I'm going to be like this. On the eye, recompose, 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 recompose. Okay, so I took a whole bunch of pictures but each picture I was refocusing, which means I am engineering the odds. Okay, otherwise this would have been fantastic, but like you can see, you just missed the focus. It's a little bit behind his eyes. Okay, and here you nailed it. Excellent, excellent, beautiful, beautiful little boy. I love the, you know, you've adhered to all the rules. I don't think you're zoomed in because you have a fixed app, a prime lens, but you're in close, widest aperture, in close, subject, varf and a background, and you've got a beautiful portrait here. I think you could push the eyes a little bit further in post. I don't know what you've done in post, if you've done anything, but you could push the eyes a little bit further. And this is the king. Gorgeous. Now, I want to ask you a question here. This picture's perfect. I love this picture. Okay, sharp. It's acceptable. It's fine. How comes this isn't a problem? Why is it not a problem that your eye? Why isn't that causing us a problem? It isn't causing us a problem. The question is why. So it's quite simple, but it's very profound. Our point of entry is his face. We come down here. Now this arm has acted as a device, as a graphical device that brings our eye around and back. So even though his leg is hanging out the picture, we have created, because you've used this arm in such a way, we have created a circle where our eye is going around the image without falling outside. Okay, this is really a beautiful picture. We're going to take this one into Lightroom, just slightly sharpen it, put a slight vignette in. The colours are beautiful, the look is perfect. You should be so proud of this. Really excellent photography. Let's take this into Lightroom. Really impressed. Really impressed. I think all I want to do for this is just a slight vignette and just bring his eyes out a little bit, just a teeny slight vignette. Hardly even. And now let's just accent his eyes. Going to Iris Enhance. Can even make his teeth a little whiter by going to teeth whitening, which if you look, it just drops the saturation, brings up the exposure slightly. Sometimes it's a little too much. Let's just see. I think his eyes are a little bit overdone here now. Let's go back to this one, find our pin. There it is, and I think we will drop the highlights by a teeny little bit. Maybe it's by the whites actually. I think we'll open up the shadows. Put the contrast a little bit. Okay, I think that's a bit better. Yeah. Okay. So let's just go back through these pictures very quickly as a full portfolio. And each one, we missed the focus slightly on here, which we'll fix for next time. But otherwise, you are absolutely on track. You've become a very talented photographer. Okay, for next time, just remember, keep in mind the focus, engineering the odds to make sure focus is good. You're cropping in, you're showing a strong sensitivity to space. Your posing is getting much more effective. It's very natural, and you should be very proud of yourself. Give yourself a big pat on the back. And keep moving forward. Okay, looking forward to seeing what you do for us. Looking forward to see what you do for us next week. All the best.